Hello, and welcome to the last video of the Python regular expressions tutorial series on the Future Programmer YouTube channel. In today's lesson, you'll learn to create regular expressions to match URLs in Python. Without further ado, let's get started. URL is short for Uniform Resource Locator, and a URL is simply a web address, or as we often call it, a link, a location on the web. And today's lesson is about creating regular expressions to match and verify URLs. Let's start off by talking about the pattern of a URL. So let's take a look at this example. This is a valid URL, and it has multiple parts. The HTTPS that starts off the link right here is known as the scheme or the protocol. We don't really need to know what these are called, but this is one part of the URL. And then we have www.example.com. This is known as the domain of the URL. And lastly, we have path right here, which is, well, it's known as the path to the actual web page in our website. And all of these parts together make up this entire URL. And of course, we have some additional symbols here and there to connect these various parts. And some URLs contain additional components, but these ones right here will be our focus in this lesson. I would also encourage you to research and modify your regex code to accommodate for these extra parts after this lesson. Now that we have the pattern in mind, let's create a regular expression to match this. So here we have 4 lines of code, which should match the URLs that we see right here. Let's take a look at this one line at a time. So the first line here is responsible for matching the scheme or the protocol. And in this case, we have HTTPS:// and then we have HTTP://. And we have the alternation, the vertical pipe symbol in between these two things. And then I have placed this entire thing into a group and placed a quantifier ? Afterward, meaning that this entire part of the URL is going to be optional. So it could occur 0 times or it could occur 1 time. And you could argue, of course, we can just simply make the S optional here and make this entire line shorter, but well, this looks nicer in my opinion, but you're free to do whatever you want. And then these 2 lines here are responsible for matching the domain of our website, which is in this case www.example.com. The reason why I've split this into 2 lines is quite simple. If you notice, everything between these things are the exact same besides for 2 symbols. On the second line, we have a question mark after the dot, which this one does not have. And then we also have a quantifier, a repetition modifier, plus at the end of the second line. The reason for that is we want to have at least 2 parts to this domain. So example.com, that could be a valid URL, or example.org or something like that. This could be a valid domain. However, we can't just have example. This is not going to be an actual website, or just com is also not going to be a valid website. So the first one here is not optional. It must occur exactly 1 time. And in this time, we will have alphanumeric characters, and then we have a plus indicating this can occur 1 or more times. And then we must have a dot at the end. So let's take a look at this link right here. So this could be example dot. And after that, we could have whatever we want. We can have something many times, and then we can make this last dot optional. Now this period right here is ideally only going to be missing at the end of the entire domain. So after the com here, we don't have a period at the end, but before that we do. And this entire thing right here is going to occur 1 or more times as indicated by this plus sign right here. So if we match these 2 lines against www.example.com, then this part will be the triple W right here. The dot here is going to match this one right here, and this part is going to match example.com. So the first one, this thing first time, is going to be example. And then since this is optional, we could have it, therefore we have this dot as the first time we match this period. And because we have the plus sign, we can have this entire thing repeat multiple times. We go back and we take a look at this thing right here, and that's going to match com. And because this is optional, we don't have to have it at the end of the domain, and we're good to go. The fourth line in our regular expression is going to match the path. So I have placed this entire group into a 0 or more time quantifier, which means this could occur 0 time, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, etc. In this entire group, we first start off with a forward slash. And the reason for that, and the reason why this is not optional, this has to occur if this occurs, of course. We can have this entire thing optional, but this has to occur is because in some cases, so for example, in this link right here, there is a forward slash at the end of the link, but there is not an actual path after the forward slash. And this is still a totally valid URL. So therefore, we can have a slash without anything after it. And you can see this is another asterisk, which means this can occur 0 or more times. And this entire character set is consisted of, we have the \w character set, we have the dot, and we have the hyphen. Converting all this into Python code, quite simple. We have import re to import the re module. We define pattern to be re.compile, and I just copied everything up here directly into this 4 lines of code right here. And flags is equal to re.verbose so that we can actually have these 4 lines. Running this, we now have the pattern defined. So now let's try to match this pattern against various valid and invalid URLs. So here we use pattern.fullMatch to match the pattern against these strings. So these 4 lines are all here. These are all valid URLs. Google.com, the example we saw earlier on, the link to the RE documentation on the Python website, and we just have example.com. These are all valid URLs, and we can see the first 4 lines are going to output the match objects returned by the full match method of the pattern. And these 4 lines all have problems. This one has a space in it, we don't want that. This one, well, that's just not a link at all. And then we have a dot, but nothing before that in this case. And we have 2 dots for some reason consecutively next to each other. So these are all invalid URLs, which means here, none, 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 and none. And to summarize, that's it for today's lesson and this entire series on using regular expressions. The pattern that we created today is capable of matching most URLs, but I also intentionally left off certain URL components as well as edge cases. I would strongly encourage you to take some time looking into modifying the pattern that we created today to fit more unusual yet valid URLs. And if you haven't realized yet, regular expressions are incredibly versatile, but the first step to any pattern isn't starting to type any code, but rather understanding what we want to match, whether that be an email address, a phone number, a URL, or something else. If you know the pattern, you can write a regular expression for it. And that will be all for today's lesson on matching URLs with regular expressions in Python, as well as the entire Python regular expressions tutorial series on the Future Programmer YouTube channel. I hope you found this video as well as this entire playlist helpful. If you did, please consider subscribing down below, and I hope to see you in more videos about programming in the future. In the meanwhile though, happy programming!